Commander Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Initiative's primary command center, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching alien fleet. The vessels were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, sleek, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, making them appear almost ethereal against the backdrop of space. 37 ships, reported Lieutenant James Torres from his station. All larger than anything we've got in orbit. The smallest one could probably house the population of Manhattan. Chen nodded, keeping her expression neutral despite the knot forming in her stomach. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, first contact was about to happen, but not in the way anyone had hoped or expected. The Nexari ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago, bypassing all of Earth's early warning systems. Their arrival had thrown the world's governments into chaos, but Chen had been preparing for this moment her entire career. The Earth Defense Initiative, once mocked as a waste of resources, now stood as humanity's first and possibly last line of defense. Any response to our transmission? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. They'd been broadcasting welcome messages and mathematical sequences on all frequencies since the fleet's arrival. Nothing on conventional channels, Torres replied. But we're detecting increasing energy signatures from their lead vessel. They might be preparing tow. A blast of light filled the command center as a holographic figure materialized in the middle of the room. The security teams immediately raised their weapons, but Chen held up her hand. The figure before them was tall, easily 8 feet, with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it regarded the humans. "We are the Nexari," the figure announced, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through the air. "We have observed your species for some time. You are inefficient, wasteful, divided. We have come to correct this." Chen stepped forward, maintaining her composure. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Initiative. We welcome peaceful contact with your species, but we will not accept threats against our world." The Nexari representative's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. "You misunderstand. This is not a threat. It is an inevitability. Your species has potential, but you lack proper guidance. We will provide this guidance. Those who accept will be preserved. Those who resist will be removed." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Chen had participated in countless first contact scenarios during her training, but nothing had prepared her for this level of casual dismissal of human autonomy. "Our species determines its own path," Chen replied firmly. "We are not in need of external guidance. If you've been watching us, you know that we've overcome countless challenges on our own. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We've learned from our mistakes." "Irrelevant," the Nexari declared. "Your learning is too slow. Your progress too chaotic. We offer efficiency, order, purpose. You have 6 of your Earth hours to prepare your leaders for integration. Those who resist will be eliminated. This is mercy." Before Chen could respond, the hologram vanished, leaving the command center in stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved. Then Chen turned to her communications officer. "Get me the Security Council. Now." Her voice was steel, matching the resolve in her eyes. "And contact Dr. Rivera at Quantum Defense. Tell him it's time to test his theories about electromagnetic interference patterns." As her team scrambled to execute her orders, Chen returned her gaze to the holographic display of the Nexari fleet. They had made a fundamental error in their assessment of humanity, one that countless earthbound empires had made before them. They had mistaken humanity's diversity for weakness, their apparent chaos for vulnerability. "Lieutenant Torres," she called out, "begin emergency protocol Omega. And get me everything we have on their ship's energy signatures. If they want to give us a deadline, we'll use every minute of it." The next 6 hours would determine the fate of humanity, but unlike the Nexari's expectations of panic and submission, Earth's response would show them exactly why underestimating humans was the last mistake many had made throughout history. As Chen coordinated with military commands across the globe, a plan began to take shape. The Nexari might have superior technology, but humans had something they clearly didn't understand: the ability to turn apparent weakness into strength. And in 6 hours, they would learn why humanity had survived everything their own world had thrown at them. They would learn that Earth wasn't just another planet to be conquered. It was humanity's home, and humanity had never taken kindly to uninvited guests who overstayed their welcome. Dr. Marcus Rivera hadn't slept in 36 hours, but his eyes were bright with excitement as he burst into the command center. The guards knew better than to stop him. Commander Chen had given the quantum physicist unlimited access since the Nexari's arrival. "Commander," he called out, his tablet's holographic display flickering with complex equations. "They're crystalline ships. We were right about the quantum resonance patterns." Chen quickly crossed the room to join him, ignoring the countdown timer that showed less than 4 hours until the Nexari's deadline. "Show me." Rivera's fingers danced across the holographic display, bringing up three-dimensional models of the alien vessels. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's fundamentally different from anything we've developed. They're using quantum fields to maintain their ship integrity, communications, even their weapon systems. "And that's their weakness?" Chen asked, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Better." Rivera's grin was almost predatory. "It's their everything. These ships aren't just using quantum technology. They're completely dependent on it, and we figured out how to disrupt it." The discovery had come from an unlikely source. For years, Earth's quantum computing research had been hampered by a peculiar problem: random interference patterns that would occasionally collapse quantum states. What scientists had considered a frustrating obstacle had suddenly become humanity's greatest advantage. The Nexari ships maintained their structure through quantum coherence, Rivera explained, bringing up more detailed scans. But they've never encountered our particular approach to quantum manipulation. They've built their entire civilization on stable quantum fields. They never had to deal with our messy, problematic solutions. Chen studied the data, her military training helping her grasp the tactical implications. "Can we weaponize it?" "Already have." Rivera pulled a small device from his pocket. "This prototype generates a field that collapses quantum coherence in a targeted area. We've been using similar technology to shield our quantum computers from interference. With some modifications, we can turn their greatest strength into their greatest vulnerability." Chen finished. She turned to her tactical officer. "How quickly can we deploy this globally?" Lieutenant Torres was already running calculations. "Most of our defense satellites could be modified within 2 hours. Ground-based installations would take another hour." "But, Commander," he hesitated, "this is completely untested technology. If Dr. Rivera's calculations are off even slightly, we don't have the luxury of extensive testing," Chen replied. "The Nexari gave us 6 hours because they thought we'd use that time to prepare for surrender. They don't expect us to be able to develop any meaningful defense." She turned back to Rivera. "How confident are you in this?" "The math is solid," he answered without hesitation. "Their quantum technology is incredibly sophisticated, but that sophistication makes it vulnerable. They've never had to account for the kind of quantum chaos we deal with daily. It's like they built the perfect machine without ever considering that someone might throw sand in the gears." Chen nodded, her decision made. "Begin global deployment immediately, and contact every major military installation. I want our conventional forces ready to move the moment we activate the quantum disruption field." As her team rushed to implement the orders, Chen studied the holographic display of the Nexari fleet. The aliens had positioned themselves in a perfect formation, another sign of their reliance on precision and order. They expected humanity to respond with either acceptance or futile resistance. They weren't prepared for humanity's specialty: turning scientific setbacks into strategic advantages. "Dr. Rivera," Chen called out as the physicist prepared to return to his lab. How did you figure this out so quickly? Rivera paused at the door. Remember all those failed quantum computing experiments? The ones that kept going wrong in ways we couldn't explain. He smiled. Sometimes the best discoveries come from learning why things don't work the way they're supposed to. As Rivera left to oversee the modification of Earth's defense systems, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Nexari had given humanity 6 hours, expecting submission. Instead, they had given Earth's greatest minds the challenge they had been preparing for their entire careers. The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. Military bases worldwide began receiving modified quantum disruption devices. Satellite systems were reprogrammed to generate the interference field. Global defense forces moved into position, preparing for what would either be humanity's finest hour or its last stand. "Commander," Torres called out with just under 2 hours remaining. "All major military installations report ready. Satellite modifications are at 87% completion. Ground-based systems are coming online ahead of schedule." Chen nodded, watching as the global defense network took shape on her tactical display. Humanity had spent decades preparing for alien contact, building systems and protocols for every scenario they could imagine. Now those preparations would be put to the ultimate test. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "When the disruption field activates, I want every available weapon targeted on their fleet. The moment their quantum fields destabilize, we hit them with everything we have." The Nexari had made the classic mistake of assuming technological superiority meant invulnerability. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology. It was in their ability to adapt, to take their own failures, and turn them into weapons. As the countdown continued, Chen couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Nexari had come to impose order on humanity's chaos. Instead, humanity would use that very chaos to bring down their perfect system. The final minutes of the Nexari's deadline ticked away in oppressive silence. Commander Chen stood at her command station, watching as the last pieces of Earth's defense network fell into place. The holographic display showed a web of satellites and ground installations, all modified with Dr. Rivera's quantum disruption technology. 1 minute to deadline, Lieutenant Torres announced, his voice steady despite the tension. Chen opened a global command channel. "All stations, maintain radio silence until my mark. Remember your training. We get one shot at this." The Nexari fleet hung in orbit like a string of crystalline pearls, their ships still arranged in perfect geometric formation. They hadn't moved since delivering their ultimatum, confident in their superiority. That confidence was about to become their downfall. 30 seconds. Chen's mind flashed back to the countless simulations and war games she participated in throughout her career. None of them had prepared her for this moment. Humanity's first real space battle, with the fate of their species hanging in the balance. 10 seconds. All stations, Chen's voice carried across the global command network. "Activation sequence on my mark." The countdown reached 0. Almost immediately, the Nexari hologram materialized in the command center. "Your time has expired," it announced. "What is your response?" Chen smiled. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. The Nexari had activated their quantum communication system to receive Earth's surrender. Their entire fleet was now linked in a perfect quantum network. "Now," Chen commanded. Across the globe, hundreds of quantum disruption devices activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The Nexari hologram flickered violently, its perfect form dissolving into chaos. In orbit, their crystalline ships began to lose their luster, the quantum fields maintaining their structure falling into disorder. What is this?" The Nexari representative's mental voice was fragmented, confused. "This is impossible. You cannot." "We can," Chen responded calmly. "And we are." "Lieutenant Torres, signal all forces to commence attack pattern Alpha." Earth's response had been carefully choreographed. As the quantum disruption field weakened the Nexari ships, military installations worldwide launched their assault. Missiles, energy weapons, and orbital defense platforms opened fire in perfect synchronization. The Nexari fleet's perfect formation began to break apart. Without their quantum fields, their ships were losing not just their defensive capabilities, but their ability to maintain basic functions. Their weapons, their communications, even their internal systems were failing. "You don't understand." The Nexari hologram flickered desperately. "Our ships, they require quantum coherence to maintain structural integrity. You're not just disabling our weapons, you're destroying us." "We understand perfectly," Chen replied. "That's why we're offering you a chance to surrender. Power down your remaining systems and prepare to be boarded, or face complete destruction. The choice is yours." The command center's displays showed chaos erupting across the Nexari fleet. Some ships were already beginning to break apart, their crystalline structures crumbling without the quantum fields to hold them together. Others were trying to retreat, but their navigation systems were compromised by the disruption field. "This is impossible," the Nexari repeated, their mental voice filled with genuine fear. "You are primitives. Your technology is centuries behind ours. How did you?" "We're not primitives," Chen interrupted. "We're survivors. Every failure, every setback, every problem we've encountered has taught us something. Your mistake was assuming that perfection equals strength. We learned long ago that true strength comes from overcoming imperfection." Around the globe, humanity's forces pressed their advantage. The Nexari fleet, once so impressive in its perfection, was now in complete disarray. Ships that had powered down were being secured by Earth's military. Those that continued to resist were targeted with conventional weapons, their weakened structures unable to withstand the assault. "Commander," Torres called out, "we're detecting power surges in several Nexari vessels. They may be attempting to overload their quantum cores." Chen's response was immediate. "Focus disruption fields on those ships. If they want to go down fighting, they'll do it far enough from Earth to prevent collateral damage." The battle continued to unfold, but its outcome was already clear. The Nexari's technological superiority had become their greatest weakness. Their perfect system had never been tested against the kind of chaotic, unpredictable warfare that humanity had spent millennia perfecting. In the command center, the Nexari hologram made one final attempt to communicate before dissolving completely. "You don't realize what you've done. The others will come. They will see. Let them come," Chen responded to the empty air. "They'll find that humanity is ready for them too." As the last resistant Nexari ships were neutralized, Chen allowed herself to breathe deeply for the first time in hours. Earth had just fought and won its first interstellar battle, using technology cobbled together from failed experiments and theories that most had dismissed as impractical. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "Begin recovery operations. I want those surrendered ships secured and their crews detained. And get Dr. Rivera up here. We need to understand exactly what we've captured." The day wasn't over yet, but humanity had already proven something vital. In a galaxy of perfect systems and advanced civilizations, their greatest strength lay in their ability to embrace chaos, learn from failure, and turn disadvantages into victories. The aftermath of the battle brought new challenges. Earth's orbital space was now filled with damaged and surrendered Nexari vessels, their crystalline structures reflecting sunlight like broken mirrors. Commander Chen stood in a makeshift interrogation room aboard the Earth Defense Initiative's space station, facing the Nexari fleet's commanding officer. The alien leader looked different now, their iridescent skin dulled without the quantum fields that usually enhanced it. "You have no idea what you've done," they said, their telepathic voice notably weaker than before. "The galaxy will not ignore this." "That's exactly what we're counting on," Chen replied, laying a tablet on the table between them. "We've analyzed your ship's databases. We know the Nexari aren't the only advanced civilization out there. But you were chosen to test us, weren't you?" The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Chen had learned indicated surprise. "How did you?" "Your attack was too convenient," Chen explained. A single fleet, a short deadline, and technology that happened to have a vulnerability we could exploit. Someone wanted to see how we'd respond to a crisis. Dr. Rivera entered the room, carrying detailed holographic projections of the Nexari ship's quantum systems. "Your technology is impressive," he said, "but it's also purposefully limited. You could have used quantum shielding to protect against our disruption field, but those systems were deliberately disabled." The Nexari leader's skin rippled with what might have been resignation. The Assembly of Worlds needed to understand. Your species, you're different, unpredictable. Some believed you could be controlled. Others thought you should be eliminated. We were sent to prove one theory or the other. Chen leaned forward. "And what have you proven?" "That you are more dangerous than anyone suspected." The alien's mental voice carried a mix of fear and respect. No species has ever turned their own technological limitations into a weapon. No civilization has ever defeated a quantum-based fleet with such primitive methods. "Not primitive," Rivera corrected. "Adaptive. We succeeded because we understand something your perfect societies forgot: the value of imperfection." Around the station, teams of scientists and engineers were already studying the captured Nexari vessels. Every piece of technology, every system, revealed new insights into quantum engineering. But more importantly, they revealed the fundamental difference between Earth and their advanced adversaries. "Your civilizations pursued perfection," Chen observed. "You eliminated chaos, standardized your development, removed uncertainty. But humanity, we evolved through chaos. Every disaster, every setback, every failure taught us something new. We don't just survive problems, we learn from them." The Nexari leader was silent for a long moment. "The assembly will come," they finally said. "Not to conquer, you've proven that would be futile. But they will come to understand. Your species has done what was thought impossible." "Good," Chen replied. "Because we have questions of our own. Your databases mention threats even the assembly fears. Things lurking in dark space, civilizations that disappeared without explanation. If we're going to face those challenges, we need to understand them." Dr. Rivera's holographic displays shifted, showing the integration of Nexari quantum technology with Earth's more conventional systems. "We're already adapting your technology," he explained. "But we're doing it our way, building in redundancies, allowing for controlled chaos, preparing for failure. We're making it stronger by embracing imperfection." Beyond the station's windows, Earth's first interstellar defense fleet was taking shape. Captured Nexari ships were being modified, their perfect systems deliberately destabilized to prevent quantum disruption from affecting them. Human engineers were already developing hybrid technologies, combining quantum engineering with traditional approaches in ways the Nexari had never considered. "You should have destroyed us when you had the chance," the Nexari leader observed. "Now you've shown the galaxy something they never expected to see: a species that can turn any advantage against their opponents, any weakness into strength." "We're not interested in destruction," Chen corrected. "But we will defend ourselves, and now we know we can. Your Assembly of Worlds needs to understand something. Humanity isn't a threat to peace. We're a threat to anyone who thinks they can impose their will on others." The interrogation room fell silent as the implications of Earth's victory continued to ripple through space. Humanity had done more than defeat an alien fleet. They had announced their presence to the galaxy in a way that couldn't be ignored. They had proven that technological superiority alone wasn't enough to guarantee victory. As Chen left the room, her tablet displayed updates from around the world. Nations were already cooperating in ways previously thought impossible, sharing resources and technology to prepare for what might come next. The Nexari invasion, intended to either subjugate or eliminate humanity, had instead united them. 1 month after the Nexari invasion, Earth's orbital space had transformed. Modified alien vessels now patrolled alongside human ships, their once perfect crystalline structures deliberately altered to incorporate both quantum and conventional technologies. Commander Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Reception Center, preparing to meet the first diplomatic delegation from the Assembly of Worlds. Interesting modifications, Dr. Rivera commented, gesturing to the hybrid defense systems visible through the station's windows. The Nexari would probably consider it sacrilege, combining quantum technology with traditional electronics like that. That's exactly why we did it, Chen replied. No one system is perfect, but together they cover each other's weaknesses. The assembly ship appeared without warning, simply materializing in orbit rather than using conventional space travel. Unlike the crystalline aesthetics of the Nexari, this vessel seemed to be made of living metal, its surface rippling like liquid mercury. The delegation that emerged was a study in diversity. 7 different species, each more alien than the last, filed into the reception chamber. Chen recognized their forms from the Nexari databases, the silicon-based meridians, the energy beings called the Lux, the hive mind collective of the Zain, and others. We have been watching. The meridian representative began, their crystalline form catching the light. What you achieved against the Nexari, it should have been impossible. Impossible by your standards, Chen corrected. But humanity has a long history of doing the impossible. Dr. Rivera brought up a holographic display showing the modified Nexari vessels. We've already begun improving their technology. Your quantum engineering is impressive, but it's too perfect, too rigid. By introducing controlled chaos into the systems, we've made them more resilient. The Lux representative, a being of pure energy contained within a specialized field, pulsed with what might have been curiosity. You intentionally make your systems less efficient, less perfect. We make them more adaptable, Rivera explained. Perfect systems break under pressure. Adaptable systems evolve. The assembly members exchanged looks of varying types, some concerned, others intrigued. The Zain collective buzzed with internal communication before speaking through their representative. Our civilizations have spent millennia pursuing perfection, they said. We eliminated chaos, standardized our development, removed uncertainty. Yet in a single day, your species proved that our path may have been incomplete. Chen gestured to the Earth visible through the station's windows. Our planet taught us that lesson. Every extinction event, every climate shift, every disaster forced life to adapt or die. Humanity learned the same way. We don't just survive chaos. We thrive in it. The assembly delegation moved to study the hybrid technologies Earth had developed. What they saw challenged everything they had believed about technological progress. Quantum systems working alongside conventional electronics, artificial intelligence that intentionally introduced random variables, defense systems that became stronger when partially damaged. We came here expecting to find a dangerous species that needed to be contained, the Meridian admitted. Instead, we found something far more valuable, a new way of thinking. That's why we're proposing an exchange, Chen said, bringing up plans for a new initiative. Earth will share our approach to adaptation and innovation. In return, we want access to galactic knowledge and technology, not to copy it, but to transform it, to find new possibilities you might have overlooked. The assembly members conferred among themselves, their discussion incomprehensible to human senses. Finally, the Lux representative pulsed with agreement. Your species has proven itself unique in the galaxy, they announced. Where we sought perfection, you embraced imperfection. Where we eliminated chaos, you learned to harness it. Perhaps this is what the galaxy has been missing. As the diplomatic discussions continued, Earth's influence was already spreading through the galaxy. The Nexari, once proud of their perfect quantum technology, were learning to incorporate human innovations. Other civilizations, watching from afar, began experimenting with controlled chaos in their own systems. Chen stood at her familiar viewport later that night, watching Earth's first true interstellar ships prepare for launch. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Hybrid vessels that combined technologies from a dozen different species, all modified with humanity's unique approach. They still don't fully understand, do they? Rivera asked, joining her at the window. "No," Chen smiled. "They think we're just good at adapting technology. They haven't realized that our real strength isn't in what we build. It's in how we think. Every failure teaches us something new. Every setback makes us stronger." The stars seemed brighter somehow, now that humanity knew what was out there. They had faced their first real galactic test and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. Earth was no longer just another primitive world on the edges of space. They had become something the perfect civilizations of the galaxy had never seen before, a species that could take any challenge, any disadvantage, and turn it into strength. The galaxy had sought to test humanity's worth, and in a single day, humanity had proven they were worth far more than anyone had imagined. As new ships launched into the darkness, carrying human innovation to the stars, Chen knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had wanted to see if humanity deserved a place among the stars. Instead, humanity had shown them that the stars themselves would never be the same now that Earth had joined the galactic community.